Hello, I'm NES Cardinality, and this is my GDQ submission video for The Adventures of Bayou Billy. This is one of the more difficult Konami titles on the NES, and it's also one of the most hated games on the NES because of its difficulty. As a speedrunner, it's been fun trying to master this game. Let's get right into it. Timer starts right about when the character's in the middle of the screen. That's when you gain control of him. This is the first enemy. He has 6 hits, but you can punch him on the last hit. The enemies in red, or I guess you could call it magenta, they also have 6 hits, but you can't make the last hit a punch. Otherwise you'd have to hit them the 7th time. Now here, I've found the exact vertical pixel where that enemy can't attack me. I'm going to demonstrate that on a few enemies in the future. It's going to be very useful. We can do it again here. You can see he won't attack me because I'm on the exact correct vertical pixel. Now here, I want to approach this in an exact way so that we always get an eagle spawn here, and this eagle spawning will always ensure that we get one less enemy here. Normally there are 3 of these guys, but we despawn one so there are only 2. And now we just want to make sure that we are able to get a lot of club hits on them. They take 7 hits total. And we're just handling the way they move, pretty much. We need this club for later. This guy has a knife, no big deal. The best thing to do in general is to pin yourself against a corner when you don't have to worry about running out of life, so that even if the enemies are hitting you constantly, you're going to save a lot of time. The gators require 8 hits with the club, and from a speedrunning perspective, if you don't have the club, you're not going to finish them fast enough. So we always have to make sure we come into this part with a club. There are a few gators in level 1 that you don't have to fight, but these 2 gators, the screen won't advance until you beat them. These scuba guys are a little bit difficult to handle. We need their guns, so we're going to grab their guns. We have to make sure we hit them while they're walking away from us, so that their guns fall towards us. And this guy we have to knock off his bulletproof vest so that we can shoot him for the quickest kill possible. And we have just enough bullets to handle all these enemies here. These large guys with the poles are very, very difficult and time-consuming to beat without bullets, so it's absolutely essential to shoot them. Now these gators, this is an example of gators that you can avoid in level 1. We can just walk right past them. And that's stage 1. Now stage 2 is a shooting level. If I chose game A, we could use the zapper for this level. There isn't really a difference between the two other than the fact that you have to scroll the cursor around to get to where you want to shoot. But that's really no problem for us. In this level, it's pretty easy. It doesn't really require that we maintain our health or anything like that. We just picked up a bulletproof vest, so we're impervious to damage for a little bit. That grenade is ammo. We get 40 bullets. The hourglass, which we're going to see later, prevents you from losing bullets whenever you shoot. Also, anytime we actually hit an enemy, we don't lose a bullet. We get it right back. And the star that I just shot kills every enemy on the screen. So it's a very fun mode of play. Here the screen will stay stopped until we kill a certain number of these falling guys. So I'm just going to keep the cursor in the middle and shoot them as soon as possible. There's no way to speed up. Like, if I shoot them higher, there's still going to be the same amount of delay between enemies, so that's not going to help us. It is an auto-scrolling level, so there are very few ways to actually save time. The main thing we're looking for from this level is good boss RNG. The boss is a helicopter that flies left and right across the screen. You can only shoot him when he's on screen, obviously, and if the RNG is good, he'll actually stay on screen the entire time. But if it's not good, he'll slingshot himself off either side of the screen over and over. It takes much longer when that happens. Same thing here. This is the last time the screen freezes in this level, before the boss. And as you can see, there are health drops everywhere. We really don't have to worry about our health. Now I'm going to burn off a few extra bullets here, because when you beat the level, the game is going to give you points for every bullet you have, and it counts them one at a time. It still counts them pretty quickly, but... So as you can see, the helicopter's cooperating very nicely, staying on the screen. and we get to destroy him very quickly. Stage 3, we're back to the beat-em-up style again. It's very similar to Stage 1, but we have to be more careful in Stage 3. The boss is going to be very difficult to handle for one thing. Don't have to worry much here, just trying to beat these enemies as quickly as possible. Now here we're going to employ a very specific setup, because we only want to fight one gator at a time, so the other one is just going to sit at our feet the entire time. We got a double hit in there. There we go. And now we're ready to fight this one. The problem with fighting them both at the same time is, unfortunately, you can only hit one of them at a time. You can't hit them both simultaneously. And whichever one doesn't get hit can attack you while you're hitting the other one. And that just slows everything down. Extra club. So here again, we can take damage. We just pretty much want to make sure that we are pinned against the right wall if anything bad happens, but everything was pretty safe here. We definitely want the life refill. We have to make sure we only take no more than 2 squares of damage in this next section. So we're going to employ the pixel trick a little bit. We're going to keep moving up or down to avoid as many hits as possible. It's okay to take 1 or 2. And there we have it. So we have to beat one more guy before the boss. And same thing. So for the boss, we have to enter the corner in a very specific way. And then just mash away. If he gets too close, then he'll pick us up. But when we get into the corner the way I did, it's the perfect setup to avoid that possibility. If he were to pick us up, it would become a very slow fight. Stage 4 introduces the third mode of play, driving. In this mode of play, A throws a grenade, and B shoots. The grenades can hit what's in the air, and the bullets can shoot what's on the ground. But the dynamics at play are a little weird. For one thing, you can't have both on the screen at the same time. If you throw a grenade, you cannot shoot a bullet until the grenade hits a target or lands. So you want to be really, really careful with what you hit in the air. Now, there are some weird dynamics which we're not really going to see happen until the next stage, which is also a driving stage. But I'll quickly describe them. For one thing, the turns are going to be sharper, and when you're going around sharp turns, the dynamics of the way your weapons work they get kind of messed up. Like you'll see right here, when you throw a grenade or when a plane drops a bomb on you, the bomb is being dropped relative to its position on the screen, not on the road. So when there are curves, you can see, like, the grenades will move. Like, you can move them just by moving left and right. And the same thing goes for your bullets. Whether or not your bullets hit the jeeps ahead of you will depend more on the direction you're facing relative to the curve of the road than what it actually looks like on screen. So sometimes we'll be shooting, like, off to the side of the road and it'll hit the enemy. You're going to see a lot of that in the next level. But for now, this level doesn't have very many curves at all, so there's not too much to worry about. In general, a good rule of thumb for these levels is if you see a jeep in the distance and a plane overhead, do not throw a grenade at the plane overhead, even if it's closer. Because if it misses, you're not going to be able to shoot at the jeep, and the jeep can crash into you. Whereas if the plane drops a bomb, you can just avoid it. Even on sharp curves, most of the bombs aren't too much of an issue to avoid. And then the other thing that's going to happen in the next level is if we pass a gold vehicle, it's going to return from behind us after a few seconds. So we want to be really careful and make sure that either that doesn't happen or we stay to the left of the road if it does happen. There's really almost no need to hit most of the planes in a speedrun, but we are going to be hitting them periodically once in a while, just for safety. So there we passed a gold vehicle, but it's not going to come back just because this is stage 4. Only happens in stage 5. So yeah, it's always going to say this stage use the controller because we're not in mode A where you can use the zapper on a couple of the stages. So there are going to be some sharper turns in this level. There are also oil slicks instead of just those two water puddles, which slowed us down a little bit. The oil slicks, I assume, were intended to make your car a little more slippery, but instead, they don't appear to have, it might have been a programming oversight, they don't appear to have any effect whatsoever on your driving. They just sort of make a squeaking sound when you turn. It goes away after a few seconds as well. Like, I think the one we ran over is already done. So there, even though we're on a curve and being pushed to the left, we still avoided that bomb. It's generally not too much of a problem to avoid those. So you want to focus most of your attention on the jeeps that are on the road. Plenty of time for donations to be read in this level. The helicopters behave exactly the same as the planes in the previous level. And again, when we're going around sharp curves, you'll see that as I turn, if they're dropping a bomb, the position of the bomb relative to the road is going to change drastically, based solely on my movement. You can see crashing there, it costs you a life, but it's really not too big of a deal in the scope of a speed run. That maybe cost us 1 second. Three jeeps at once, no problem. The bullets are fairly rapid. The grenades are a problem. Want to make sure, so here, I wouldn't even think about trying to grenade that guy when there was a jeep or a vehicle up ahead on the road. So there are the squeaks you can hear, because we ran over some oil. This guy's gonna come, oh, he didn't come back! That's a surprise. Have to slow down a little bit there. And there's one other thing that's really strange about this stage. The amount that you're pulled to the edge of the road is not actually dependent on how sharp the curve looks on the road, but rather it's just an arbitrary value assigned by the game. So some of the sharpest curves don't actually pull you at all to the side. And if you haven't played it before, you just really can't tell until you play. Oh! Just clicked our corner there. But again, it's no big deal to lose lives in the driving stages. Now, Stage 6 is one of the most difficult levels in any game of this style in the NES, but there are some tricks we can employ. For starters, the enemies in certain sections spawn on the edge of the screen, and if we keep them off of the screen by moving in a very specific way, they won't have time to spawn within like the 4 or 5 second window that they're allotted, and they just disappear. So here, one of them actually got close enough on the screen, and we just have to be careful and finish him off. These guys take 6 drop kicks. Not much of a challenge. Now here, there is a spawn off to the right, and we want to make sure we despawn him before we fight this guy. You can see he sort of appeared there, but we kept him more than half off screen, and for that reason, he wasn't able to spawn. Here we get 2 of the chain ballers at once. Pretty easy enemy to fight. We purposely take damage to make the battles a little bit quicker, and here we get a life refill, so we don't have to worry about anything. Same thing here, there's an enemy on the left, and we want to make sure we despawn him. And we did. Now we have our first whip. Now these whip guys, they're called whip masters, and they behave kind of oddly. They don't do much when they're close to you, and when they're far away, if you knock their whip out of their hand, they will drop everything they're doing and just go after the whip. This guy got on screen, but... oh, there is another one behind him. So he's gonna run around a little bit, but no big deal. We have the whip, we can attack him from a distance. And again, we're just trying to keep these guys off screen with a very specific set of movements. It's mostly a circular motion, but you want to make sure that you are keeping it in motion both vertically and horizontally at all times, which isn't really the easiest thing to do. It takes a lot of practice. Here we want to make sure we kill this guy before the others get down vertically to our location, because with 3 of them on the screen, things can get a little bit difficult. I don't know why, but sometimes the Whipmasters have 7 hits, and sometimes they have 8 hits from a whip. There we go, we despawn those guys. These guys take 11 hits from a whip, and every time we change our vertical location relative to theirs, they freeze horizontally and they won't approach us. So that's pretty important for safety. And I'm just trying to avoid the crowbar there. We want to make sure we keep our whip so that we can fight them at a distance. More guys to despawn. As you can see, because there are so many groups, this saves so much time in Stage 6. That's a bulletproof vest, we're going to want that for later. He has 1 more hit, we'll just hit him this way. One more, there we go. And there's 1 more of these enemies before the end of Stage 6. There we go. Stage 7 is another shooting level, another auto-scroller. Not too much to worry about in the process, but we want to make sure we don't run too low on ammo. There's usually a spawn there right at the beginning, and I shot him. But we do have to watch out for these guys on bikes. They take 3 hits to kill. We did get him on 1 pass there, and his ammo spawned on the other side because it was so close to the edge of the screen. But you can see there, they can shoot almost immediately, and it's totally random when they start their shooting cycle. You can see whenever you shoot an enemy, this is a very common thing with NES games in order to get past the sensors. You're never actually killing anyone in this game. When you shoot these guys, they drop their weapon and put their hands up, as if to surrender to you. So you're not really killing them, it's all friendly. Here we are at the jazz bar, where these guys in purple suits love to hang out. Very commonly worn color in the jazz bar. Boy, those bikers love to drive all over the place. Stairs will not stop them. So another stopped section where we just have to keep shooting guys until we shoot enough to get the screen scrolling again. Not much to worry about here. These guys will not shoot at you unless they've been on screen for a certain amount of time, and then they'll stop and point their gun at you. Stationary enemies can pop up in windows, and they can, like that guy, he can fire sooner. So we've already taken 2 hits of damage, so if we don't get a life refill, we're going to be a little cautious against the boss, but it's not going to slow us down, really. Oh, we took a hit there. That biker almost never fires. You can see he didn't come back on the screen. I didn't beat him. He just skates off to the left. And he almost never fires, but that time he did. Oh, we got extra ammo. I was hoping for a lucky health refill. So we're going to have to be careful against this boss. There's going to be one guy who shoots and one guy who throws knives at you. You can shoot the knives away, which we're going to be careful to do here. I always want to take out the guy who shoots first, because there's no way to stop him from hitting you. But the guy who throws knives, you can shoot his knives away and everything's safe. We actually only took 2 hits of damage there from the shooter. Stage 8 is very short. It's the entrance to the lair of the final boss. We want to make sure we get a gun here. We got it perfectly there. And we're going to pick up all the bullets just in case. Now there are going to be 3 guys with bulletproof vests, so we want to knock those off first. And there's also going to be a lot of lag if we don't get rid of what's on screen, so we're going to try and knock off as many bulletproof vests as we can. You can see there's already a lot of lag. There we go. I think he only needs 1 more hit. There we go. So now we can just whip off his bulletproof vest, load up our gun, and fire away. Whoops. So when you pick up an item, it despawns your bullet selection. You press select to switch weapons. Oh, whoops. There we go. And now we enter the final battle. The story of this game is simply that this guy in a suit and hat, this short man, has kidnapped your girlfriend and he wants you to come to his estate to save her. I don't really know why, but that's just what happened. So we're going to wait for him to pin us in a corner, and he's not going to use his gun up close. Not that that's what we're worried about, because we have a bulletproof vest. And now that he's down to his last hit, we're going to let him knock our equipment out of our hands. The reason we do this is because when we come into the final battle, which comes right after him, with no equipment, this boss starts with 5 squares of health instead of 7 squares. It makes a world of difference. So we're going to finish off the blue guy first, and then the red guy. And there you have it. So yeah, a really fun game. If the final boss had defeated me there, we actually got some unlucky RNG, but we still pulled it out. If he had beaten me, you start from those 2 guys immediately, so it's no problem to just refight the boss, but that's not going to happen too often. So yeah, that's the Adventures of Bayou Billy, a really fun game to speedrun and a great challenge. I currently have the world record. Hope you all enjoyed this. Thank you very much for watching.